had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton. We had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal.
My name is Benny Johnson, and welcome to The Benny Show. What you just heard there was Amy Robach of ABC News. As far as I know, she still works there. Amy Robach had the story of Jeffrey Epstein abusing underage girls, trafficking underage girls for high-powered people like Dershowitz and Bill Clinton. Amy Robach had that story dead to right, according to her own words, captured there in an undercover video or an off-camera video obtained by Project Veritas. Amy Robach said that she had the former president Bill Clinton dead to rights on the Jeffrey Epstein scandal, underage sex trafficking. Now, why didn't ABC News break that story? It does seem like the largest bombshell story of our era, and indeed it led to Jeffrey Epstein's early demise, much maligned early demise. Interesting. How indeed does all of this happen? How do the records get falsified, the cameras all turn off in the cells, and so on and so forth? But that's not what the show is about. The show is about the people who killed that story. The people at ABC News who covered up the Epstein scandal, who allowed further Jeffrey Epstein and the people who committed crimes with him to get away with it, who let these girls continue to get abused, who let the people who abused the women off the hook. People like Bill Clinton. Why would they cover up these stories? Why would they cover up the story of a decade that implicates some of the most powerful people in this country? And yes, by the way, if there were Republicans, if there were people who are my friends who are involved in this, I hope that they go to jail. This is the sickest thing on planet Earth, to abuse young children and to travel and traffic young children. What Jeffrey Epstein did is satanic, demonic, it's evil. Now, what's even more evil, okay, it's not more evil, but it's as evil, is protecting Jeffrey Epstein, defending Jeffrey Epstein, allowing for Jeffrey Epstein to continue doing this by not reporting on it, allowing the people who are Jeffrey Epstein's best clients to continue to live peaceful lives instead of lives of extreme shame and perhaps lives inside of a jail cell where they belong for being part of the largest multinational sex trafficking organization in human history. These people are scum. They are the worst people in humanity. They are the darkest people in humanity, and they deserve to be brought into the light. Amy Robach had the story, and it was killed. Why? Killed. Just like Jeffrey Epstein in his cell, where he had nothing but toilet paper. So the chances of Jeffrey Epstein committing suicide in his cell, very, very low. It still happened. The chances of a actual journalistic enterprise shutting down the largest bombshell sex trafficking story in a generation, very, very low, but it still happened. Why would you shut down this story? Well, the answer is very simple. It implicated Democrats. It implicated and destroyed some of the Democrats' favorite donors, some of their biggest figures, like Bill Clinton. It hurt the Clintons, it hurt the families of prominent Democrats, and so it was killed. This story was killed dead, like Jeffrey Epstein in his cell with cackling Hillary Clinton, with Hillary Clinton's cackle echoing down the hallway of the Manhattan Federal Penitentiary. Who killed that story? Why didn't Amy Robach get a chance to break the story of a lifetime, the bombshell of a lifetime, to protect young women from abuse? Well, the answer is two words: James Goldston. James Goldston is the producer who said, no, you're not allowed to do this. James Goldston worked at ABC News. He protected and defended and is an ally of Jeffrey Epstein and serial sexual abusers and pederasts. James Goldston himself is a pederast protector by killing this story. James Goldston left ABC News. And James Goldston has a brand new position. You won't believe what it is. His new job is to be covering up another crime, covering up another abuse of the justice system, and covering up another opportunity for America's powerful and elite to torture and hurt regular Americans. Do you want to know what it is? You may have already guessed. That's right. James Goldston is heading on over to the January 6th committee, where James Goldston will be producing, I'm not joking, the hearings this week on Thursday. There's going to be primetime hearings inside of this sham show trial Soviet-era committee, and they're going to be produced by a Jeffrey Epstein ally. Can't get better than that. It's just, when you think that the insult has reached the peak, they come back for it. And now Kevin McCarthy is jumping in on the savagery that the January 6th committee is receiving for this announcement. So again, how can the January 6th committee even hire a guy like James Goldston? Where's their budget coming from? The January 6th committee has done nothing but terrorize innocent Americans, betray executive privilege, betray the rule of law, act as an extrajudiciary committee in order to attack their political enemies. You donate to the wrong person, they'll come after you. You were in the wrong spot at the wrong time, you didn't commit any crimes, but they'll attempt to destroy your life. They have dragged in, I think, hundreds of people at this point, taken documents that were not theirs, subpoenaed text messages from innocent Americans who had nothing to do with January 6th. And by the way, if they were subpoenaing someone and trying to get to the bottom of what happened, maybe you should start with the FBI and the multiple federal agents who were in the audience at that time. Why don't you talk to Ray Epps? Let's talk to Ray Epps, the guy who was openly organizing people to go into the Capitol. We have the footage, openly organizing the front of the march to kick down the fence and attack police. We have it. Openly colluding and acting as an agent of our government in a usurping position, in a position that is clandestine, to create espionage and to incite violence. We have it on tape. Where's Ray Epps? Let's talk to that man. If you want to get to the bottom of it, which I do, I would really like to get to the bottom of the federal agents in the audience. I'd like to get to the bottom of why the police officers opened the doors. They're on camera, opening the doors to the Capitol, allowing people to walk in. And I'd like to get to the bottom of why Americans, innocent Americans, have been sitting inside of jail cells for nigh on 500 days inside of Washington, D.C. A political... Those are questions that I'd like to get to the bottom of, but here we are, inside of a world where these people on the January 6th committee who are presiding over a Soviet-style commissar committee who have already come up with their conclusion and are attempting to prosecute and hurt Americans who disagree with them politically and use our judicial system to do it. There is nothing more fractious and broken inside of our nation than this: to utilize law enforcement and equal justice under the law and a justice system that should be blind for your own political ends. It's what happens in third world nations. It's what happens in tin pot dictatorships. It is what happens in countries that are facing collapse and countries that are about to collapse. When the rule of law becomes a political cudgel, then the nation implodes. Kevin McCarthy said as much in a recent tweet, savaging the Democrats for hiring, again, the Jeffrey Epstein choreographer, the Jeffrey Epstein ally, in order to produce their Soviet-style sham hearings. The Democrats have turned to former ABC News exec whose leadership ABC News spiked the story of Jeffrey Epstein to choreograph their January 6th political theater. Kevin McCarthy going in, Kevin McCarthy recently getting the Donald Trump endorsement. Kevin McCarthy posted an old tweet from 2019 where he attacked ABC News and the same executive for covering up the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. Let's see if Republicans finally get some teeth. Where's our committees? Okay, if this is the way you're going to go, where's the committee on the Wuhan laboratory and the origins of COVID-19? Where's the committee on Nancy Pelosi's insider trading? I need her documents. We need to see exactly how many times Google executives and Facebook executives communicated with the Pelosi family about when or where to buy stock. Twitter executives. You know, that's how the Pelosi's got rich, right? You know, they're worth $100 million. Nancy Pelosi makes 180 grand a year. That's good money, but it's not buy your own vineyard money. Nancy Pelosi goes and trades stocks at perfect peaks, at perfect timing. There are kids who work on the stock market who are up for 48, 72 hours. They do nothing. They work at the Citadel. They do nothing but trade stocks, and they're not as good at this as Nancy Pelosi, an 82-year-old geriatric who's been in Congress her whole life. But somehow Nancy Pelosi just gets all the right tips and knows exactly when a stock's going to tank or when it's going to take off like a rocket ship. Where's our investigation into Nancy Pelosi's finances? You want to go this route? Let's go this route. Where's the committee in Congress on Hunter Biden and the Biden business dealings? You want to talk about real threat to our country? How about selling wholesale of American sovereignty to the worst nations on earth, which is the Biden business model? And again, where is our subpoena for Anthony Fauci, Francis Collins, Peter Daszak, and everybody involved in the Wuhan laboratory cover-up for the creation of COVID? And why can we say the creation of COVID? Where do we come up with that? We've done an entire documentary on it. But the reality is that the American government funded gain-of-function research for coronaviruses derived from bats inside of the Wuhan laboratory. Are you making the connections? That's cold hard fact. The documents are there. Go read The Intercept. So let's create our own commissions. Kevin, if you're really this upset, let's do it. So they're using an Epstein ally in order to produce their committee's hearings so that they can continue to cover up abuses of innocent Americans. Well, it's on brand for this dude. Joe Concha on Fox echoed these concerns. We thought it was very powerful. We would like to play that clip for you now.
Democrats and Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney insist that this January 6th committee and the hearings are not about political theater or partisanship. So what better way to prove that than to hire a guy in James Goldston who literally has been paid to produce partisan political theater during his broadcast news career spanning decades at ABC. And again, this is the guy, as pointed out by Kevin McCarthy, who made sure the Jeffrey Epstein bombshell that ABC first had never saw the light of day. Think of all the victims that could have been spared if James Goldston had decided to go ahead with that story, but he had to protect Epstein for whatever reason, and that's who the Democrats and Cheney and Kinzinger are hitching their wagons to. Goldston, like so many others in this business who claim to be journalists, they're actually political activists.
Goldston is a former president of ABC News. Before that, he ran a mammoth-sized operation at Good Morning America. Nightline and Nightline as an executive producer. The Capitol Riot Committee reportedly recruited Goldston to make their presentation starting at 8 p.m. They want a blockbuster investigative special. In case you needed any further confirmation that corporate media is simply the PR agency for the DNC. It's the first of 6 hearings where lawmakers will seek to contextualize the riot of Donald Trump and his allies. Evidence includes never-before-seen White House photos of January 6th. Never-before-seen photos of the White House. They're also expected to show pre-taped depositions from witnesses. We encourage you to not tune in. We don't want anyone to have ratings on this. This is a political tactic. This Soviet commission has always been a political weapon. That's why Peter Navarro was arrested and put in chains by the FBI this week, even though he lives next door to the Justice Department and could have just been asked to walk in like they do with Democrats. Michael Sussman allowed to walk free and Peter Navarro in chains. Are you paying attention yet? Elon Musk is paying attention. Elon Musk tweeted recently, the only thing more remarkable than the Department of Justice not leaking the list is that no one in the media cares. Seem odd. Things I'll never see in my life. The Epstein-Maxwell client list. Why don't we know who the client list of Jeffrey Epstein was? Because of men, scum, human refuse like Jeffrey Goldston, who covered up for predators. That's why. Because of a industrial complex of leftists who attempt to, and often succeed at, controlling narratives and controlling truth so that you don't get a chance to see who the Bidens are, who the Pelosi's are, but the cracks are forming and people are beginning to tune out. They're starting to watch this show and shows like ours, and we just want to thank you for that. We have a lot of really big things coming. We're very, very excited about it, and we appreciate you, truly. We were traveling all weekend, Dallas, Denver, Colorado, Rifle, Colorado, and we met so many wonderful people. Even the pilot of the plane that we were flying back on came up and said they're a follower of what we're doing. It's very, very neat. Made me feel very secure, by the way, flying on that plane. So, based pilot on American Airlines, we salute you. Someone who does not deserve to be saluted and who won't ever be saluted, who will probably never see justice, sadly, but deserves to, is Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton, whose mysterious trail of advisors who commit suicide continues apace. Jeffrey Epstein advisor, correction, the man on Bill Clinton's staff who let Jeffrey Epstein into the White House 7 times, has committed suicide. Yes. And his family is now blocking the release of files detailing his death. The mysterious deaths around the Clintons continue at a pace, and Jeffrey Epstein, as much as they have tried to cover up and bury this story, continues to be in the news. 2 stories today about Jeffrey Epstein. So top Clinton advisor Mark Middleton died of suicide, age of 59, May 7th. That was this last month. The Perry County Sheriff's Office in Arkansas confirmed another Arkansas suicide connected with the Clintons. Shucks. Do you get like a punch card? It's like a baker's dozen kind of thing. You get like a free foot long after you get 10 punch cards. Whew. What a cursed family. Truly demonic. Middleton, this is the name of Clinton's advisor, was a special advisor who is the one responsible for admitting Jeffrey Epstein to the White House at least 17 times. Well, that's a difference. This is reading from the Daily Mail, a difference in the headline versus the copy of the article. Copy of the article said he admitted 17 times the pedophile into the White House to presumably visit Bill Clinton. The married father of 2, tragic, lives in Little Rock, shot himself at a ranch in Perryville, 30 miles away. The Daily Mail can now reveal that Middleton's father and his widow are fighting to keep the records sealed. Interesting. Why would you do that? Wouldn't you want to presumably have justice or maybe create an example for people as to not get involved in political corruption or horrible things in life and prevent such tragedies from occurring to your life? I certainly would. The 2 filed an injunction, the 2 meaning the family members, blocking the release of footage that would proliferate unsubstantiated conspiracy theories. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not a conspiracy theory if it's a pattern that happens time and time and time and time and time and time and time again. And it always seems to be surrounding the Clintons. Boy, it sure would have been nice to have seen what was happening in Jeffrey Epstein's cell. You know, when you're in maximum security solitary confinement and they believe that you're a threat to yourself, recall that Jeffrey Epstein already attempted to commit suicide once, so they moved him to solitary confinement. Well, you know, it'd be sure nice to release the videos of Jeffrey Epstein's cell, who was visiting him, the recorded logs, but turns out the logs are missing and the video machines, the cameras that are hardwired into an electrical power grid that can't be turned off, they just happen to be turned off. Shucks. Boy, sure is too bad that that happened. The lawsuit claims that the family has been harassed by outlandish, hurtful, and unsupported offensive online articles. Perry County Sheriff Scott Montgomery and said Middleton was discovered hanged from a tree with a shotgun blast to his chest. You're going to have to explain to me how that happens, not trying to be hurtful to the family, but perhaps the release of evidence would explain how you could hang yourself and also shoot your own chest with a shotgun. Not trying to hurt anyone here, just trying to ask questions. Does seem a little confusing, certainly to me. Someone's going to have to explain to me how that happens. Fine. I did do a lot of physics classes. I studied organic chemistry in college, physics minor, and I did a lot of classes. Seems to be a difficult thing to pull off. But what do I know? What do I know? Let's look at the evidence, but the family's trying to block the evidence. So why, I suppose, is the question you have to ask yourself. Well, investigations into these kind of things. Why isn't there a Jeffrey Epstein commission? Why aren't we asking for Jeffrey Epstein's client list? I don't care if the list is full of Republicans. I don't care if the list is full of people that I perhaps admire currently. I want to see that list. Who the hell was doing this to these young women? We need to have answers as the American people, and we mustn't move on from these subjects. Wuhan Laboratory, Jeffrey Epstein, Nancy Pelosi's insider tradings, the Biden crime family. Well, luckily, there is a member of Congress who is saying exactly this. Jake Evans on the January 6th probe. We need the same investigations against Democrats if the GOP wins. Nailed it. Yes, correct. I don't know Jake Evans personally. I'd like to. Let's bring him on the show. Georgia Republican Jake Evans, who's running for Congress. Sorry, not a congressman, running for Congress. If he's in Georgia, I don't know anything about this seat, but I have to assume that he'll hopefully win. Detailed investigations that he wants to see Republicans pursue against Democrats if the GOP wins the House majority this year, providing his remarks during an interview with Breitbart News. Evans said Democrats have weaponized normal House proceedings, such as when they created the January 6th committee, and that he wants to see Republicans adopt a fight-back mentality and launch their own probes if they get control of the House in November. I think we've got to control the narrative. We're going to retake the House in 22, and when we do that, we're going to launch the same investigatory hearings that hold Democrats accountable that we need to do for a very long time, that we have been needing to do for a very long time, Evans said. He added, I think Republicans have not been playing with the fight-back mentality. Democrats play hardball where Republicans play t-ball. These Democrats have weaponized all of these bureaucratic administrative proceedings. He's right. January 6th committee is a partisan select committee consisting of 7 Democrats and 2 never-Trump Republicans. This is a perfect example, Evans said. Evans is an attorney focused on election laws. He is facing physician and military veteran Rich McCormick in the congressional runoff. Well, I don't know anything about these two men. I wish them both well, but this Evans dude sounds like he is swinging for the fences. He sounds like a bare-knuckle brawler, and I like that because I'm part of the new right. The new right are people who don't lay down and take it like good little boys. The new right are people who fight back. We don't allow the left, we will not allow the left to bring in pederast defenders and allies in order to produce sham extrajudicial hearings, Soviet style, in order to hurt their political opponents. This entire process needs to be shut down. What they are doing right now in Congress, man, wow, with this committee. What they are doing, they're setting a precedent. You may recall, I'm old enough to remember, when Harry Reid got rid of the filibuster for judicial nominations, and Mitch McConnell, who I'm not a fan of, but he was right in this circumstance, said, you're going to regret this. And now it looks like we are sitting on the precipice of Roe v. Wade being overturned for this exact reason. The reason why you have Kavanaugh and Gorsuch and Amy Coney Barrett on the Supreme Court is that you only need 51 votes to get your judicial nominee on the court. Harry Reid did it. And now Harry Reid can look up from hell and see that Roe v. Wade is going to be overturned because of his actions. Democrats are playing with fire, and they're not going to like it when Republicans get a 100-year majority in the House because of the criminality of the Biden family, which is now on full display. Hunter Biden cavorts with Hooker, illegal gun in latest mess for president. Hunter Biden cavorting with a hooker is holding on to a firearm illegally obtained because Hunter Biden is a drug addict, and you need to answer whether you're addicted to illegal substances when you are filling out a federal NICS form, and Hunter Biden lied on that form, we now know, according to Breitbart, Politico, and the New York Post. Here is the image. Hunter Biden having his finger on the trigger, of course, horrible trigger discipline, packing heat, posing naked with a hooker, with his finger on the trigger. Grotesque. Yet Joe Biden wants to put you in prison for legally owning and lawfully preserving your property, as is your right via the American Constitution. Here, his drug-addled son brandishes a firearm with his finger on the trigger while naked with a hooker. Hunter Biden shows himself to be a real first son of a gun in the latest embarrassing personal video leak from President Biden's scandal-scarred offspring. What an intro there from the New York Post. Very nice. Son of a gun. A naked Hunter casually waves around a handgun and even points it at the camera while cavorting with a nude hooker in a swank hotel room, according to the video provided to the Post by the nonprofit Marco Polo Research Group. Cavalier clip of Hunter holding an apparently illegally obtained weapon emerged amid a rash of mass shootings, random gun violence in major cities that included 11 incidents on Saturday and Sunday alone. It also came just days after his dad called on Congress to pass new gun control measures to stem the slaughter, declaring in television primetime address last week, the Second Amendment, like all other rights, is not permanent. Very interesting. Senator Ron Johnson slammed Joe Biden for his apparent hypocrisy. Before proposing or passing any new federal gun legislation, the Biden administration ought to enforce existing laws regardless of who is violating them, even if that person is the president's son. Hunter Biden recorded the video on October 17, 2018, according to Radar Online, which was first to reveal its existence. 5 days earlier, he bought a .38 caliber handgun in Delaware, Politico reported last year. In order to make the purchase legal, Hunter Biden answered no to a question that asked, are you an unlawful user or addicted to marijuana or any depressant, stimulant, narcotic drug, or controlled substance? Hunter Biden, whose addiction issues and cheating led to his 2017 divorce from his wife, was discharged from the U.S. Naval Reserve years earlier for testing positive for cocaine. Just weeks after Hunter Biden illegally bought the weapon, Biden's lover, Haley Biden, the widow of his dead brother, tossed the gun into a supermarket garbage can, setting off a Secret Service and FBI probe. You're not gonna believe this, guys. It's gonna make you scream. No charges were ever filed against Hunter Biden. That's right, no charges against Hunter. We live in clown world. Everything is fake. The rules are made up, and they are made up by people to protect themselves and to openly insult and spit in your face. And it's time that we spit back. We're very excited to announce that the overturning of Roe v. Wade is gaining great popularity. The final story today, a happy one to begin our early week on, ladies and gentlemen, according to Breitbart.com. The idea of overturning the infamous pro-abortion Supreme Court law, Roe v. Wade, and handing the issue back to the state governments is gaining popularity, according to new polling from Harvard. You always think these polls are going to be like from the Gateway pundit, right? And we love them, right? But you think it's going to be from Hillsdale College, right? Or someone who's going to over-index Republicans. Nope. Harvard-Harris poll found that a fairly even split on the issue now, that the Supreme Court should overturn the case that allowed for millions of abortions since it was handed down in 1973. The answer is not millions, it's 60-plus million Americans who do not live in this country and who are dead because of this satanic ruling. While 49% of Americans support the overturn, 51% oppose. The increase of 3 percentage points since November 2021 has been pretty staggering. It means that we are winning on our messaging that you should hand back to the courts the issue of murdering an unborn child. we shouldn't even say unborn child. It's just murdering children. If you are a parent and if you've watched your child get born, if you've seen that baby and held that brand new baby in your hands, and you think there are laws on the books right now in blue states like New York and California that would allow the murder of that child a literal second earlier, man, you are a demon walking this earth. And we actually did a little special about a demon that showed up at a rally outside of John Roberts' house. Man, the spiritual battle continues to rage apace. And they mad, ladies and gentlemen, they mad. We did a speech this weekend at the Young Women's Leadership Summit, Turning Point USA, where we talked about how great it is to be married and have children and to not cheat on your spouse and to not be addicted to pornography and to be happy and to make babies, to make more Americans. We talked about all of that, and we were so happy to do so because I'm a practicer of those things, and also there's a lot of data behind it. There's a ton of data to show that these are things that make you happy, living a religious life, living a happy life, having a happy marriage, having children, not slaughtering your children, but actually raising your children. These things bring you great joy, and I practice this every single day of my life with my two kids who were moments ago, right before we went live, sitting on my lap right here in this chair. Lib's mad. Man, we got so many articles about that the fact that we were just encouraging young women to live with upstanding conservative values and be women of high value. Amazing. And we're going to keep saying it because because it's true, but also because we're winning. Unexpectedly, the majority of voters in the 18 to 34 demographic support overturning the pro-abortion decision. Gasp. Young people don't like baby murder, probably because young people, like myself, I'm 36. I mean, am I young at 36? The answer is no, but I sort of generally fit into this demographic, right? So 18 to young 30s are saying, wait a second, we're seeing ultrasounds of our kids, and we can see the 3D ultrasound. You can see the child develop. You can see the fingers and the toes, the eyes. It's amazing. Now, my parents couldn't see that when they were having us. They didn't have the kind of technology that we have. And you can't ever be forgiven. In my personal opinion, I don't think there's any excuse ever for abortion. That's my opinion. I am an absolute 100% anti-abortion activist. I do not believe that the killing of an unborn life is ever justified. Period. The end. That's the end. That's what I believe. I'm a Christian, and I believe that's what the Bible teaches. However, I have got to say that there was a pernicious lie that was spread that babies are just blobs and clumps of cells, and that technology has caught up to that lie, and now you can't really say that anymore. You can see at the earliest stages, the development, the beating heart. The first thing you see is the beating heart. Like literally days after you know you're pregnant, you can see the beating heart. And then weeks after that, you can see toes, nails, eyes. You can see like the organs develop. You can see the human being grow. And you can see it all in like 4D, man. You can like navigate around your kid. What they have now these days with ultrasound's incredible. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent because I just was there. I was just there. Anyway, it's amazing, and I think that young people are turning on Roe v. Wade because they have that technology now, and what the lie has now been evaporated, that the baby is just like a clump of cells. It's not. It's a real living thing, and it's really beautiful to have babies, and we encourage you to have babies, especially and most definitely if you're married and in a happy relationship. And I am a practicer of this advice, and it is wonderful. The youngest cohort is the only one that a majority support the overturn, and that's what I think is very interesting here. The majority of young people want to overturn Roe v. Wade. We're winning! Ha! The vast majority of Americans believe that the leak of the draft opinion in the case that could see the overturn of Roe was politically motivated and intended to put public pressure on the workings of the court. 53% of Americans do not believe the leak will have an impact on the decision. Hey, man, from this article's words to God's ears, please. The poll was taken. Around 2,000 registered voters. That's where the poll's from. So that is bombshell stuff. We're winning. An encouraging message to end the show. We are winning. We are ascendant. We are the ones who will remake this country and make it a better, more moral, more just place. We have been betrayed by the generations before us who have ruined this place and are on their way out. Nancy Pelosi's 82. Mitch McConnell's 81. Joe Biden's 80. Klaus Schwab is 85. George Soros is 95, I think. Eesh. Goodness, crypt keepers, ladies and gentlemen. Schumer, I think, is like 75. Why? Was our nation designed to have like 80-year-olds making all the decisions for the young people? And the young people are saying, no, we don't want Roe v. Wade. We want to be able to make our own choices. We want to be able to make and remake this country in a model of stay out of our lives. That's what's amazing about the new left and the new right. We have some very special stuff coming. We were able to really like sit down and chat with Tulsi Gabbard. It's a Democrat. Don't agree with her on everything, but you don't have to. You can find the things in the middle that you agree on and totally remake this nation and make it awesome. And all you need is the new left and the new right to agree on some things. Let's disagree on the stuff on the edges, and let's come together and agree on a few things. Most important thing is leave us the literal hell alone. Use American treasure and riches on Americans. Secure this place for the next generation. And let's have law and order so that all people of all types, don't care who you are, don't care what you do, whether you're living in Rifle, Colorado, cleaning your guns, and looking at your pasture, or whether you're living in Manhattan, 6 people inside of a 1,000-square-foot apartment smoking recreational marijuana. Don't care. I want you to live in peace. I want you to not be trod upon by the federal government. I want the federal government to be broken up. And I want people to live their lives as long as they don't harm anyone else. It's kind of what we're about. And it's kind of what we like, and we're going to be working on that. Like creating this consensus where the new right and the new left can say these things are broken. This society and these systems are broken. They're broken by awful people. Also, I think term limits are probably an absolute must because that's how you prevent the next Nancy Pelosi, term limits. But we'll get there, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get there by having our priorities correct. God, family, country. We were born free men and women, and we intend to stay that way. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Thanks for watching. See ya.